Hey everyone, Colin once again, and welcome back to the next movie review, which I just I am this is a do over because I was just so out of it because when you're up late you're tired you start falling asleep, you're not concentrating, so this is pretty much a do over, but at the end of the day it's still the same result though. But anyway, I reviewed Top Secret, which fun film. The Val Kilmer did a good job. You don't see him do like a parody like that nowadays. Even after we did Top Secret, because after you go do Top Gun and more other serious roles, right? So, but it was fun to see Val Kilmer do a film like that, right? Especially starting the film that was from the makers of Airplane. So, and the Naked Gun movies. But now I want to review one of the more modern spoofs, you could say, which this came out in 2008 though. But I'm still not a fan of this. I'm still not a fan of this film. I did remember seeing this in the theater. Although I did get a few chuckles out of the film though. But overall, I'm still not big on the film though, because it's movies like these, especially afterwards, all these other films. This is what killed the spoof genre. But anyway, I'll get to more on that though. But so the review of one of the other films I'll be reviewing is of superhero movie, released in 2008. Yeah, so from the guys who brought Scary Movie and The Naked Gun. And the film, you can say, did modest at the box office, but it wasn't huge. I mean, of course, superhero movie, because ever since when the first Scary Movie came out, that's when the whole of these movies start coming out. Though the first two Scary Movies I like, 3 and 4 I don't, and especially 5 is easily the worst. And then afterwards, there became this whole big thing of these other movies. I mean, of course, you got Epic Movie, Date Movie, Meet the Spartans, Meet the Blacks, those other ones like Starving Games, Super Fast, Stan Helsing. Oh, God, vampires suck. Oh my God, a disaster film movie. All these shitty, beyond shitty so-called comedies. My God, if I there are some boundaries I don't cross for myself though. But if I ever do though, they'd be freaking mega rancid, because I hate those films. I hate those films with a passion. Those what killed the spoof genre. Those films killed that genre. And how those films end up making some money, I have no idea. Because those are they just do it for the sake of just get a laugh at everybody just for the sake of it. I mean, they're not funny at all. They're beyond shitty. Okay, garbage. But all that said and done, though, I mean, superhero movie, I do think it's better. I do think to be perfectly fair, I do think it's better than all the shitty ones that I named. I will be perfectly fair on that. To me, it is better, because like I said, I did get a few laughs out of it though. Just a few though, not all the way through, not every time. I did get a few chuckles out of it though, and especially you have and also you have a lot of recognizable actors in this film. But before that, it's directed by a guy named. It's written and directed by Craig Mazin. Funny enough, this guy doing a film like this, he would later do much better work, because later on he would go do TV work. I mean, he helped create, and he was executive producer for 2 well-received shows. I mean, he was executive producer, and he helped create the show Chernobyl. And especially, he did The Last of Us. Executive producer and helped create the show The Last of Us. Yeah, The Last of Us. The received TV series that's based on the video game The Last of Us, starring Pedro Pascal. That got a lot of praise for. Craig Mazin, who did superhero movie, we're going to do work on Chernobyl and especially The Last of Us. I just think that's kind of weird. I mean, you look at those shows, especially The Last of Us, and you look at this guy, and he's like, really? This guy did superhero movie? Seems kind of weird, right? Yeah. And of course, freaking... of course, it's released by Dimension Films as well, because, of course, you also have the producers from the freaking Weinsteins. Shithead, especially Harvey Weinstein, that fucking shithead. That piece of shit. Of course, they're always interfering with a lot of... they're always interfering a lot, so... But all that stuff, yeah. But, also, like I said, it's a decent-sized cast in this. I mean... Of course, the film stars Drake Bell from Drake and Josh. Honestly, he's not lead guy material for me. I mean, he's not. I mean, wasn't really big on Drake and Josh to begin with. But he's the lead in this. He plays Rick Riker, aka the Dragonfly. You got Sara Paxton, who... After this, later star in the 2009 remake, The Last House on the Left remake, and then she started in Shark Night, Shark Night 3D. And she was that film with that film called Aquamarine. She was a mermaid in that, I think it was. She stars in this as the love interest. You have Christopher McDonald, Shooter McGavin for Happy Gilmore. Which I like Christopher McDonald. Of course, not only just Happy Gilmore, but he was do other things as well. But that's what a lot of people recognize him from, though. It's nice. It was nice to see him in this, as he's the main villain in this, as the Hourglass. Then you got Kevin Hart, Brent Spiner, Data from Star Trek: Next Generation, Jeffrey Tambor from the Hellboy movies, many other films as well. I know, just not starring in Hellboy, but I've seen him in episodes of Three's Company. He's been in many stuff though. Jeffrey Tambor. Robert Joy, who plays Dr. Stephen Hawking. Robert Joy, I know from George R. R. Romero's Land of the Dead. He played Lizard from the 2006 remake of The Hills Have Eyes. Roby! And of course, he had a small role in AVPR, Alien vs. Predator Requiem. He was the colonel that was telling, there's a airlift in 30 minutes, but he lied, and he has the weapon at the end. So, he plays Dr. Stephen Hawking. Other recognizable faces, you have Robert Hayes. Of course, starring from Airplane as Stryker. And of course, also from Homeward Bound as well, I remember. And Stephen King's Cat's Eye, that was a fun film. He plays in a flashback of a young Drake Bell, play his dad, in the parody of Batman, when the parents dying, right? His parents dying. So Robert Hayes has a small role in this. Keith David, he's the chief of police in this. Sadly, he doesn't do pretty much nothing. He's only he's in for one scene outside, and you see him for two more only on the TV. Too bad, because I like Keith David. I really enjoy him as an actor. I think sometimes he's underrated at times, but he doesn't do much in this, so sad to say. Cameos, you have Regina Hall from the Scary Movie movies, and Pamela Anderson has a cameo as Invisible Woman, and pretty much one of the best parts of the film. Of course, you have the late Leslie Nielsen. I've always enjoyed, not only from the Naked Gun films as Lieutenant Frank Drebin, but of course from Airplane, who was his comedic debut. It's always fun to see Leslie Nielsen, whether he's in a bad movie, Leslie Nielsen always tries to make light of it, because I always enjoyed Leslie Nielsen. Rest in peace to him, So, overall, you have a lot of recognizable cast members in this. And so, the story is, which pretty much is mostly a parody of Spider-Man. Because you have the opening with, running, like with Peter Parker, Sam Raimi's, running after the bus, opening the door 3 times, getting hit 3 times. Kevin Hart plays his best friend. I mean, a lot of the jokes, although I did get some chuckles out of it, I mean, there is some jokes I just didn't think it was funny. I mean, especially a running gag, right? I mean, they're on the bus. I mean, explain how there's different groups of people. Like, you got the jocks, nerds, and like photos, from the Lord of the Rings, and then they have like the Scarface Society. I mean, it shows like just a series of group of people on a bus, eh. And then they go to this field trip where the scientist is played by Brent Spiner, like I said, Data. And Drake Bell plays Rick Riker. He's pretty much Rick Riker, Peter Parker. Riker. Yeah, his last name is Riker, like Commander Riker from Star Trek, which had Data in it, of course, because Brent Spiner. This whole joke that this liquid that spills on him, it's like a pheromone for animals, and all the animals start humping him, wanting to screw him, and the point where all the animals, they really cover him up, screwing him, humping him. I'm like, although the one little part of that joke I thought could have worked, there's this snail that also it's like in subtitles like, hey, wait for me, and then it's on his arms like, hey, take this, I mean, that part of the joke could have worked. I mean, if it was just a snail by itself instead of all the animals, that part I would have probably pretty much got a laugh at, so I mean, that joke could have worked if it was just like the snail by itself, but so. And then he gets bit by one of those genetically engineered dragonflies. Like I said, Spider-Man. But it's a dragonfly, and he lives with his aunt and uncle. The uncle played by Leslie Nielsen. I think the woman who plays the aunt, I think that was her from Happy Days. Who played Mrs. Cunningham, Ron Howard's mom, Mrs. Cunningham from Happy Days. I think that was her. I think it was. I don't remember. I'm very sure that was her from Happy Days. Who played Richie Cunningham's mom. So I think that was, if I am, I must be correct on that. But she plays the aunt as well. And so then afterwards, you have Chris McDonald doing this experiment. And I think the guy, the guy who was like the board of directors, I think the guy it's the guy who voices Homer Simpson. I think that is also him. Which honestly, I'm not really big on the Simpsons, but I do know the guy who voiced him. It's like, oh, that's the guy who voices Homer Simpson. Okay, I would recognize that because I also remember he had a little small role in the 2015 Fantastic Four movie. I'm like, he was like one of the teachers. I'm like, oh, that's the guy who played Homer Simpson. So he has a small role in this, and then Christopher McDonald does this machine, and he sucks he's the power to suck the life force out of everybody to keep him living. So, and then you get another one of the jokes I think was fun. I mean, Drake Bell wakes up and Leslie Nielsen is in bed with him. I mean, that's not. I think it's not really that funny. I'm like, oh, look, Leslie Nielsen's in bed with him. I mean, I like Leslie Nielsen. He always tries to do the best that he can, though. But just like stuff like that is like, And then after that, he has this science fair, and then that's when Robert Joy comes in and playing Stephen Hawking, and they get this whole thing of because he can see, because Stephen Hawking has his computer to speak for him, right? And he's like, oh, hey, anyone want to get high? I got some hash with me. My nurse is a lesbian, but not the hot kind, and Like I said, most of these jokes I didn't think it was about. I will say though, there is a couple of jokes I did get really legitimate chuckles out of me. I mean, of course, the whole thing with the whole Spider-Man thing where the bully tries to slow punch him as he's moving out of the way, but he gets punched, and then the funny, supposedly the funny part where he knocks Stephen Hawking into this cage of killer bees, and you hear his voice saying, "Ow." It's just the way the voice says it. I did get a laugh out of. It's like, "Ow, ow." And the fact that he's paralyzed, he can't move, he's just stuck in there. I did get a small laugh out of that. It's just the way the voice says it, Ow, ow. And then he runs back home, and then to me this is one of the best jokes of the movie, because Leslie Nielsen is with Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart's waiting for him, and Leslie Nielsen actually shoots a nail because he has a nail gun, and Drake Bell catches it, and he's like, "My God, how did you do that?" And Drake's, "It's easier than it looks." And then Leslie Nielsen just takes the nail gun and shoots Kevin Hart in the hand. He's like, "Oh!" And then Leslie Nielsen goes and just nonchalantly, casually says, "No, I don't think so." It's just like, it's like, it's just, what makes Leslie Nielsen funny is that he just says it in a deadpan expression, or, well, he's funny but being while talking serious at the same time, I said this before about Leslie Nielsen. He looks so serious, but he makes it funny by saying it nonchalantly, saying stuff like that, just the way he talks is like, that's what makes what makes Leslie Nielsen very funny, like from other comedic actors, right? He just talks it so seriously, but he's being funny at the same time. That's one of the things I miss about Leslie Nielsen, the way his personality is. He's like, "No, I don't think so." And so he tells him he has superpowers, and is like, "I find that hard to believe." And Draco's like, "Okay, how about this? Throw as many punches you want, I'll bet you $100 you don't land one." And he goes and just punches Kevin Hart in the face. Easy money. And then he says, "Oh, well, I was bitten by a dragonfly, and they have armored skin." And then Leslie Nielsen takes a knife and goes and stabs him, and it bends the knife. It's like, wow, good thing that worked. And so then it's like, oh. And then Kevin Hart, he's like, "Well, you do have superpowers. We're going to get fame, money." And then Leslie Nielsen goes and says, "Don't forget the bitches." Like I said, he just says it so nonchalantly casual, just like, that's what makes it funny. So that one scene with Leslie Nielsen, that's pretty much one of the best parts, one of the funnier parts for me. And then afterwards, they get this Draco gets a flashback back when he was a kid. This is where it takes the Batman parody, with his parents dying in the alley, right? And his father, played by Robert Hayes. Like I said, from Airplane, Homeward Bound, Cat's Eye. It was cool to see Robert Hayes. I like Robert Hayes, I think, I don't recognize, he doesn't go and do much nowadays, though, but hey, at least it was nice to see Robert Hayes. And then afterwards, he gets like this call from Professor Xavier, right? X-Men. And it's played by Tracy Morgan. That's another recognizable actor, Tracy Morgan is in this. He plays Professor Xavier. And he tells him I'm a psychic, and he's like, "Well, think of any number between 1 and 1,000,000, and I'll tell you what it is." And Draco says, 9. He's like, "Not out loud, dumbass." And this whole thing, I thought this whole scene could have been cut out. I mean, it doesn't really go into anything. Just him, the so-called the X-Men mansion, right? You get cameos from Pamela Anderson as Invisible Woman. Of course, there's a so-called Wolverine cameo, shaving his legs, right? Yeah. I thought this whole scene could have been cut out. I mean, because you get Regina Hall plays as his wife. Oh, she's bald too, and all the children as well. Get it? And then he uses her powers to throw Tracy Morgan across the room. Oh, and the whole time, the whole joke is that as soon as Drake Bell's following Tracy Morgan, he's on a bike, and now like this scene right here, he's sitting on a toilet, and I thought this whole X-Men scene right here could have been cut out. And then he makes his costume, and I mean, Kevin Hart sees it right, and it's only when he says that he notices, like he has no air hole, right? Kevin Hart's like, how do you breathe in it? And then also he realizes he can't breathe. I'm like, you don't realize till he put on the costume, or let alone he can't see either. It's only after when Kevin Hart tells him, oh, how do you breathe? How can you see in it? Then that's when he actually notices. Because he doesn't notice until he puts it on. Of course, he doesn't put on, like, when you first put on, you don't know that you can't see or can't breathe. And so, and then the next thing where he's on his building, that's where he meets Johnny Storm from Fantastic Four. It's played by Simon Rex. I mean, the guy from Scary Movie 3, who played Charlie Sheen's brother in the parody of Signs. The one who's always unintentionally beating the shit out of Cody, right? He plays. I'm not really big on Simon Rex. I don't think he's not funny though. But he plays that, and then he's like, "Flame on!" And he realizes he's on fire. Oh, I'm on fire! And Drake Bell tries to put him out, but it's not working. Throws gasoline on him. Then he falls in the building. Never to be seen again. So that's another thing. He could have been cut out of the movie too, but that's the joke though. And then he's fighting crime, and then that's when Chris McDonald realizes he needs this certain element to help keep him alive. Then the police get there. That's when you get Keith David as the chief of police. And we see Chris McDonald in this costume, call himself the Hourglass. And then you get this whole thing where Drake Bell and Chris McDonald are like, oh, when the camera starts spinning, right? And they all get dizzy, and Drake Bell's like telling the camera, stop! And Chris McDonald, he vomits because he got dizzy. But then eventually he gets away, and then and that's where the whole they get the whole parody of the scene in Spider-Man with him and Mary Jane in the alley when it's raining. You get that whole parody scene, and then they get the whole Thanksgiving scene from Spider-Man, right, where Chris McDonald and his son comes over. Oh, and the guy that plays the son, Chris McDonald's son, he's the guy who later on starred in the 2009 remake of Friday the 13th. He's the guy who got the arrow in his head while on the boat. And then they get the whole supposedly it's funny joke where the aunt is stuffing a turkey. I mean, she's shoving everything in it, like including a bottle of vodka, shoving a whole cat into it. And then you get the scene from the parody scene of Spider-Man where, when Willem Dafoe is noticed, tries to look and nothing's there, right? And because he hid in more places. That parody there, he's looking, instead of the drop of blood, in this case, Drake Bell has to piss, and he's on the ceiling, is like pissing like it's a sprinkler. He looks, and there's nothing there. Chris McDonald, he's looking everywhere. Oh, there's nothing there. He doesn't see anything. And then I did get another chuckle out of where, they're at the dinner table, and he was gonna Chris McDonald's gonna reach for a roll, and then the aunt stabs him in the hand with a fork, or one of those things you carve with, and he's like, Jesus, amen. It was just Christopher McDonald's reaction. Just gave me that got me a laugh out of that. It's like, Jesus, just gets stabbed in the hand. And then afterwards, then you get the whole thing with Drake Bell's talking with Sara Paxton, the aunt's on the couch sleeping, and the whole thing where she's just constantly farting in their face. I mean, it's just like, at first it starts silent, then it gets louder and louder to the point the fart creates a wind. It's all getting windy when she's farting very loudly and faster. I mean, That, I always say about fart jokes and stuff like that. Yeah. But then Chris McDonald shows up, as the Hourglass, and kills the ant off screen. Off screen, right? And then you get the whole thing with the funeral. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention it. Because no wonder, because Leslie Nielsen disappears for quite a bit because they're at a bank, right? Tries to get a car, and the guy, the desk clerk that Drake Bell is talking to is Kirk Fuller from the TV show Psych. Yeah, Kirk Fuller. He has a role in this, and there's a robbery. The robber gets away. Oh, the thing you know how Uncle Ben gets shot. There's a crowd, but actually it's a monkey, and it's like, oh, I thought something terrible had happened. Well, an old guy did get shot over there. He's sitting there by himself, and then Lizzie's like, "Are you hurt? I say something. I can't. You're kneeling on my balls." And then he's in the hospital. He disappears for quite a bit and that's when the doctor in the hospital is played by Jeffrey Tambor. And so he disappears for quite a bit though, and then not until afterwards that's when in the funeral, and then Leslie Nielsen goes like, "Oh, how can you take her from me? I can't get on without her." He jumps in the coffin on the body, starts humping it, and then there's a switch. This is your wife. This is this young man's wife, and it's a much younger woman he's on top of, and he's like, "Give me 5 minutes." And then afterwards, like, he tries. Drake Bell wants no longer see Sara Paxton, and then it's like, with Leslie Nielsen again. I thought that's another funny joke where look, sometimes pass. He has a beard. Drake Bell has a beard, right, eating junk food, and then it's like Leslie Nielsen's like, "My God, look at you! Look at this place, eating junk food, wearing fake beards." He goes and rips the fake beard off of Drake Bell. It's like wearing fake beards. And so then they have to go and stop Chris McDonald. They go at this award show, and the whole joke is that where Chris McDonald gets awarded, he's like douchebag of the year, and then He gets one thing later. He gets the stuff right. Oh, well, the whole thing with Kevin Hart, because when they get we're at the red carpet, right? Oh, he sees Nelson Mandel. He's like, "Nelson Mandel, I was in prison too, man." Yeah, Nelson Mandel, yeah. And so there's this fight, a scuffle, then he gets this device they can suck more life force, but then it causes him to explode, and so him and Drake Bell and Sara Paxton are falling off this building. They're constantly falling while still talking. I was like, this is a really tall building, and then finally he gets his wings, and I did like this more because Leslie Nielsen takes the same joke he did from Naked Gun, right? Stephen Hawking is like, "Oh, thank you, Dragonfly," and Leslie Nielsen goes, "You said, Dr. Hawking." He's doing the same thing he did at the end of Naked Gun, what he did with O.J. Simpson. Pats him when he's in the wheelchair, pats him in the back, and then he sends him down flying, like O.J. Simpson did at the end of Naked Gun. Leslie Nielsen does the same thing here with Robert Joy, and Robert Joy's like, "Shit," flies off the building. And then it ends with them, both Drake Bell and Sara Paxton. He's flying now. They get hit by a helicopter. And then you get this. It's an hour and it's 82 minutes, but like there's like 10 minutes of credits, including with outtakes. I'm like, most of in credits, but including outtakes and bloopers and stuff like that, right? Or deleted scenes as well. I'm like, why could you say that for special features? Because it is on for the special features, but why stick them at the end after the credits though? Because it's supposed to be a short movie, but with including 10 minutes of credits and outtakes, and stuff like it makes them. It makes it much, it makes it a much shorter movie because, okay, 82 minutes, take out the 10 minutes of the credits and outtakes, makes it for a much even shorter movie. But I don't know why they stick them at the after the credits. I mean, I don't know why, but so like pretty much like an hour and 12 minutes. That's minusing the end credits and outtakes. So, but overall, superhero movie. Yeah, I will still say though, it's not Airplane, it's not Top Secret or Naked Gun. Or the other parody movies, like Spaceballs from Mel Brooks, you know? Like, even Mel Brooks' films, I thought, are better than these shitty ones, you know? I even like Dracula, Dead and Loving It, with Leslie Nielsen. I thought was better than... is better than this, and all the other crappy ones I've named, right? Even Mel Brooks' films, I thought, were better. Like Spaceballs, Young Frankenstein. Like I said, Dracula, Dead and Loving It, which I actually like, though. With Leslie Nielsen. But I still think Scary Movie 1 and 2 are still better. But would I say this is better than 3 and 4? Because I don't like 3 and 4. Especially 5. I'll say this is easily better than Scary Movie 5. I could still say that, though. But like I said, I still think it's better than all the other ones, like Meeting the Spartans, Date, Disaster, Epic Movie, all those other ones I've named. I still think this is better than that, though. I will give it that, though. I mean, David Zucker, he's also a producer on this as well. The Hart, the Weinsteins. Every time I see their names on because the Miramax and Dimension films are with those two. I mean, every time I see their names, especially Harvey Weinstein, that fuckhead, you know. But overall, I'm not really a fan of superhero movie. Well, I mean. He's not he's not lead actor material for me. I mean, Leslie Nielsen, I will still say he was the best part of the movie, because I love Leslie Nielsen, you know, rest in peace to him, and just, he always tries to do his best, you know, whether, you know, his like I said, his casual person, being nonchalantly, you know, like I said before. I mean, it was cool to see Chris McDonald, you know, hey, doing a parody of a superhero, because I like Christopher McDonald, you know. I mean, I'm still not really big on Kevin Hart, I'm still not a fan of him overall, although I did like him in Central Intelligence, I did like him in that film. But to me, he just plays the same, you know how a lot of people, some actors, they play the same person, like with Jeff Goldblum or George Clooney, right? Oh, they're just being George Clooney, or they're just being Jeff Goldblum. That's why I feel the same way about Kevin Hart. He just plays Kevin Hart in a lot of his movies, you know. But I did like him in Central Intelligence. I did like that film, so I'll give it. But I'm still over not big on Kevin Hart. It was nice to see Brent Spiner. I mean, Robert Hayes, and some of these other actors. Keith David. When sadly Keith David doesn't do nothing. Sad to say, though, unappreciative though. Because that's how much I like Keith David. I think he's unappreciated sometimes. He hasn't, like I said, he's the chief of police. Only appears in one scene and 2 times on television. That's it. I mean, and Robert Joy has started to see Stephen Hawking. I mean, like I said, I did get that small laugh when he was when his face in the killer base and his speaking voice is like, oh, shit. I mean, I did get a small laugh at that. A lot of the jokes I didn't think, like the fart jokes and other the piss jokes as well. I mean, you know, I'm always cynical on that, you know, and I mean the one joke though with the Drake Bell getting humped by the animals. I mean, I could have got the laugh out of it if it was just the snail, but and the whole thing with the whole X-Men scene could have been cut out. Didn't really lead up to anything. But overall, yeah, I wasn't really big on superhero movies. It's not a huge rant, like, because it's not the one that makes me furious like all the other ones, like Date Movie, Epic Movie, or Disaster Movie. Those infuriate me more. This didn't though. It's like, I got a few laughs out of it, but I wasn't overall big on it or a fan of it overall. Hey, I like Leslie Nielsen, Christopher McDonald, and I see a lot of familiar faces in there, with a recognizable cast. That's what kind of made me not fully hate the movie. I just wasn't really a fan of it overall, big on it. Maybe I put this above, definitely above Scary Movie 5. Maybe I'll put this above 4 and 3, maybe. But it's not Airplane. It's not Top Secret. It's definitely not Naked Gun, or it's definitely not Mel Brooks' movies like Spaceballs, Young Frankenstein, even Dracula Dead and Alone. I think it's better than this. It's not Mel Brooks' movies, and when he does parodies like those, it's not those. So yeah, that's my review for a superhero movie. It didn't infuriate me. It did make me fully hate it, but I was not a fan of it. So, but that's that. But thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next movie review, and we'll see you next time. Later.